Namaskar. Welcome to the Gita Satsang today. So let us start. Let us do Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled here for this online Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranatah Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostu Te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. So today we will take up the next two shlokas, the 17th and 18th shloka. So in the previous shlokas, we had come up to the point where the different conches of starting from the Pandava side were being described. So now we will take up the further shlokas. Kashyascha Parameshvasaha Shikhandi cha Maharatah Drishtadyumno Viratascha Satyakishcha Parajitah Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvashah Prithivipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankan Dadmuh Pratak Pratak Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathāryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyuta Padambuja Yugma Rugma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with prayers to the Acharyas, let us try to understand some important meanings and concepts from these shlokas. So here in this shloka 17 and 18, it is told, there is a description about how the great warriors on the Pandava side are all blowing their conches. So a few of them are mentioned here by name. So first is the Kashi Raja. Parameshvasaha means the supreme, the excellent archer, somebody who was very good in archery, the king of Kashi. He blew his conch. Then Shikhandi, who was a great warrior, who was a Maharathi, he also blew his conch. Drishtadyumna, we have already come across this person. He is the son of Drupada and the commander-in-chief of the Pandava army. So Drishtadyumna blew his Shankha. Virata Raja. Virata Raja is the one who had given shelter to the Pandavas during the Ajñatavas. Right? Then Satyaki, who is considered invincible. So all of these people, along with Drupada, and then the 5 sons of Draupadi, Draupadeyascha. So the sons of Draupadi are the Draupadeyas, and Abhimanyu, who was the son of Subhadra. So all these people, they were all great warriors, all blew their respective conch shells. So this thing is being reported to Dhritarashtra by Sanjaya, isn't it? So when he is narrating all this, he is calling Dhritarashtra as Prithivi Pate, O ruler of the earth, O king of this entire universe. Like that, he is addressing Dhritarashtra. And he is explaining that how they are all the warriors on the Pandava side are blowing their shankhas. So here, one thing is, there is, if you look at the literal meaning, there is description of the warriors and how they are great, in a battle, and how they blew their conches one after the other. Prathak prathak means one after the other. And Sanjaya here is calling Dhritarashtra as ruler of the earth, right? So if you look at the literal meaning, it appears as if Sanjaya is, praising Dhritarashtra, isn't it? He's calling him, you are the ruler of this entire kingdom. But actually, there is an inner meaning to this. Sanjaya is calling Dhritarashtra like this to indicate that actually you are the one who has the power to take a decision which is going to influence the life of so many people. Now, Dhritarashtra was actually the ruler, isn't it? It was not Duryodhana who was the ruler. The Raja was Dhritarashtra. Now, if Dhritarashtra had to make up his mind, even at this moment, the army, the battlefield is ready, both sides' armies are ready, everybody is waiting, and the fight is about to begin. Even at this stage, O Raja, if you want to, you can change the way these things are going to turn out. So you are the ruler of the earth. By saying that, Sanjaya is trying to tell that Dhritarashtra is the one who is actually responsible for whatever events are happening and whatever is going to follow, all the chaos that is going to result, all the unnecessary loss of human life, the loss of animals, so much bloodshed. All this is going to be solely because of Dhritarashtra. So to try and convey to him the power that he has and how he can even now change the events. Sanjaya is calling Dhritarashtra as Prithvipate, ruler of the earth. Right? And here we have heard about all these other warriors in previous shlokas also. But there is one person, one personality whom we need to focus on in this shloka, and that is Shikhandi. So I think we are familiar with the story of Shikhandi, and the speciality of Shikhandi is that he became the cause of death of Bheeshma. But to understand how, now Bhishma was such a great warrior, he was definitely not someone who could have been killed by anybody. And besides, he had the blessing of his father that he had what is called as Ichha Mrityu. So he could choose the time of his death. So unless he himself chose to die, there is no way anybody could have killed Bhishma. And as long as Bhishma was alive and fighting vigorously for the for the Kaurava side, there is no way that anybody would have been able to defeat the Kauravas, isn't it? And yet, Shikhandi becomes the cause of Bhishma's death. So, what is the reason for that? To understand that, we have to go back in time to the story of how this Shikhandi came to be actually become Shikhandi, right? So, we discussed in a previous satsang about how Bhishma, he took that great vow, that pratignya he made, that because he wanted his father to be able to marry Satyavati, he made that promise that he is not going to marry ever and that he will stay as brahmachari throughout his life. So after that incident, now the Shantanu Raja had sons, and for the son called Vichitravirya, Bhishma wanted to get girls to be married to him. Some princesses were to be found to marry Vichitravirya so that he could continue, the lineage would continue. So at that time, they heard that the king of Kashi, who had three daughters called Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika, a Swayamvara was being held for those three girls. So at that time, Bhishma goes on behalf of Vichitravirya. Bhishma goes to that event. And seeing Bhishma, everybody is shocked. They say, why has he come here? On the one side, they are very scared of him because he is a great warrior and they stand no chance against him. And on the other side, there are people who are ridiculing him, making fun of him, and saying that, see, this man, he took such a great pratignya, saying that he's going to be Ajivan Brahmachari, and see, now he has come for the Swayamvara. But then Bhishma was not bothered about what anybody talked about him. He didn't go there to find wives for himself. He wanted somebody who would marry Vichitravirya, isn't it? So he went there. Nobody dared to get into a fight with him at that venue. So he took all the three girls and he claimed them as, the princesses as wives for Vichitravirya, and he started going away with them in his chariot. Now, on the way, there were some warriors who came and tried to fight him, but definitely he defeated all of them. It was child's play for him. He defeated all of them, and then he came back with these three wives, with these three girls, three princesses for Vichitravirya. Now, once they reached there, the two younger princesses, Ambika and Ambalika, they readily agreed to marry Vichitravirya. But the eldest one called Amba, she opened up and she said that in my mind, I had accepted King Shalva as my husband. I am in love with him, and he also has similar feelings for me. So we had decided to get married. And actually, in the Swayamvara, he was supposed to come and win me over, and that is why the Swayamvara was arranged. So I am not ready to, I'm not very happy about marrying Vichitravidya. So then Bhishma says, okay, fine, if you have agreed, if you have desire to marry him, then you are free to go and, marry him only. So he sends Amba with an escort. He sends her to that Shalva Desha so that the king can, that Shalva Raja can accept her. Now she is sent there, and these two girls, they are married to Vichitravirya. Now, when Amba goes there, that king refuses to accept her. And he refuses to accept her and says, you have been taken away by Bhishma as, to be the wife of somebody else. So how can I accept you? It is against my pride. I can't, it is like an insult for me that you have been sent by them, and as if you are given in alms to me, like I'm a beggar and you have been given to me. I will not accept like that. You go back to them only, you marry Vichitra Virya only, he says, and he sends her away. So she comes back here now. And then the marriage of the other two girls is over. So there is no question of again. And Bhishma knows that she didn't want to marry Vichitravirya. So he said, no, there is no question of you marrying Vichitravirya now. So you can go back to your parents' place only. I will send you to Kashi Desha itself. But then Amba gets very angry. She says, no, this is not correct. You have brought me here by force. I cannot go back to my parents' house. It is like an insult for me. So you are the one who caused all this confusion. So you are the one who has to marry me. She says, you must marry me. Bhishma is not ready to give up his vow of brahmacharya, isn't it? He has made a vow and he's not somebody who's going to break that vow. He says, no, it is not possible at all for me to marry you. So you have to go back to your parents' house. So Amba is very furious at that stage. She gets very angry. She feels like, an outcast. Everybody, nobody wants her. And she's been put to such a, through such a grave, insulting kind of a situation. And in that anger, she goes away, vowing revenge on Bhishma. She says, I will take revenge on you. I will make you pay for this. You have destroyed my life. You have spoiled everything in my life. So I will make sure that I will, take revenge on you. And with that anger and that vengefulness, she goes away. She goes and does tapas for many years. And then after that, Subramanya, who is also called as Skanda, isn't it? He's the son of Shiva. So Subramanya comes and appears before her, and he gives her a mala. He says, whoever accepts this mala from you and wears this mala and fights against Bhishma, that person will emerge victorious. They will be able to kill Bhishma. So she is very happy now. So she comes back to, where all the kings are. And she goes and approaches one king after the other, describing this whole thing to them. And she says, please wear this mala and you will be able to kill Bhishma. But everybody is scared because they have seen the parakrama of Bhishma. They know how great a warrior he is. They can't believe that just by wearing that mala, they will be able to kill him. So nobody agrees. So the last king whom she visits is this Drupada Raja, who was the king of Panchala, who is the father also later of Draupadi. So this Drupada Raja's court, that is the last place she goes. Because nobody has accepted, she's finally frustrated. She just hangs that garland in one room somewhere and she goes away again. Now again she is frustrated. So she does tapas for some more years. And then she's blessed with darshan of Shiva. So Shiva appears before her and tells her that you will have to take birth again, and you will become a man, and only then you can fight against Bhishma. Now, although Amba had that mala, she couldn't wear it herself and fight against Bhishma because, as per the rules of Rajadharma, as per the Kshatriya rules, woman can't fight against a man. So that was not possible. So Shiva tells her that you take another birth, you'll be reborn again, and in that birth, you will become a man and you will be able to destroy Bhishma. So then she's happy at this decision and she creates a fire. She jumps into that fire and saying, that I will take revenge on Bhishma. With that last thought in her mind, she gives up her life in that fire. Now, after this, sometime after this Drupada Raja, we have seen that story of the enmity between Drupada and Drona, isn't it? How the Drona felt insulted by Drupada, then he sent the Pandavas to capture him, and then very insultingly he gives him back half the kingdom, and he says we will now be friends. But then Drupada is feeling that insult in his mind, and he's totally upset, and he wants also to take revenge on Dronacharya. So he does a homa, a yaga, and he is told that the children born in this yaga will be the ones who will be responsible for the destruction of Dronacharya. So during that yajna itself, it is that Drishtadyumna is born, Draupadi is born, and a little after that, one other girl, one daughter is also born. Now that daughter, it is told that she will be responsible for the death of Bheeshma. It is prophesied like that. But they are wondering, she is a girl. How is she going to be able to fight and kill a man like that? But anyway, they bring her up like that, as if she is a boy. But what happens is that in some event which is taking place, some utsava which is going on, they all go there. At that time, this girl who is called Shikhandi, this girl wanders away on her own somewhere, and she has knowledge of her past life. She remembers that she was Amba, and that she has been born to destroy Bhishma. So that desire is very strong in her. But how will I do this? How will I do this? And in the meantime, before that, she has also seen that mala hanging in that room. No, it was the same Drupada Raja's palace where Amba had left that mala hanging. So she has seen that mala, she has worn it, and she's become convinced that yes, I'm going to be the cause of death of Bhishma. But she is still wondering that how will I do it? So as she is wandering around in that place, there is a yaksha who comes there, and she is sitting very sad in that place, and she asks, that yaksha asks her, what is this? Why are you crying? And what is the reason why you are sitting alone here? Why you are not with the other people, and so on. So then she narrates all her story, and taking pity on her, the yaksha says, okay, fine, we will exchange genders. I will give you my male gender, and I will take your feminine gender. So that is how the Shikhandi was actually a girl, born as a woman, becomes a man. Now, this again is known to everybody that this is what has happened. So then later, during the Yuddha, this Shikhandi is on the side of the Pandavas, because Drupada's son or daughter, whatever way you look at it, the daughter who became the son. So Drupada, Drishtadyumna are all on the Pandava side. Draupadi obviously is the Pandava's wife, so they are all on the Pandava side. So this Shikhandi is there, and Krishna knows about the background of this Shikhandi. So at that time when Bhishma is fighting and fighting so strongly, and Arjuna is hesitating to fight and defeat Bhishma, at that time Krishna realizes that now is the time to fulfill the destiny of this Shikhandi also. So what he does is that as Arjuna is standing ready to fight in the Ratha, Krishna asks Shikhandi to stand by the side of Arjuna. The minute Shikhandi is standing by the side of Arjuna, and Bhishmacharya sees that, he also knows, he also has this knowledge that this Shikhandi is the Amba who has taken rebirth to be able to kill me. And he also knows that it is a girl who became a boy. So, as per the rules of the Kshatriya Dharma, they don't fight. Men don't fight against women. They will not raise their arms against women at any point of time. So, realizing that this Shikhandi is the girl who became a boy, and that she is Amba who is meant to kill him, Bhishmacharya lays down his arms. And it is at that critical moment that Arjuna hits all those arrows, and he causes Bhishma to fall down and to lie on that bed of arrows for so many days till the war is over. So, this is the backstory of Shikhandi. Now, we talked about this story because the name of Shikhandi appears in this shloka. Of course, towards the end of the war, when Ashwathama and the other surviving people of that Kaurava side, they come to the Pandava camp. They want to destroy the Pandavas, but by mistake they destroy the sons of Pandavas. At that time, this Shikhandi is also killed in the war. But why we talked about this Shikhandi is because it was this Amba from the previous birth who had taken birth with the sole intention of causing the destruction of Bhishma. So, there are no specific commentaries of the acharyas about this particular point, right? The story is just mentioned in passing. But what we can understand from this story is that probably this whole episode, right? It was because Amba felt hurt. Bhishma did certain actions which, according to him, were as per dharma. But then those actions hurt Amba, and she felt insulted. Now there were so many people who felt insulted throughout this entire episode, isn't it? There was, first of all, Bhishma, who took the vow and then decided that he is never going to give up that vow. So his personal vow was more important to him than anything else in the world. Then there was that Shalva Maharaj, who was insulted because he thought Amba has been taken away and then she's being given back to me. So he felt insulted and refused to accept her. This Amba herself felt insulted at the turn of events and decided to vent all her anger against Bhishma. And what we can understand from all this thing is that when we have this attitude of feeling insulted by something, when we take offense at something that happens to us because of another person, and we harbor a feeling of revenge in our mind, then the ultimate outcome is only going to be destruction. There is never any good that is going to come out of this feeling, insulted by others. So many times we feel insulted for so many small things, whether somebody has the intention of hurting us or not, whether their actions are done because of particular reason or not. We assume that they are doing this to put us down, or we feel that this is something which is insulting to me. So this sense of insult comes because of our aham bhav. It comes because of our sense of ego. It comes because of the feeling that we don't understand that I, when I say I am insulted, I am hurt, then that I'm identifying myself with the body, with the sharira. I don't realize that the actual I within is the Atma. And for the Atma, there is nothing that can touch. In later chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, we will see how Krishna is describing the qualities of the Atma, that it is something that cannot be wetted by water, it cannot be burnt by fire, it cannot be blown away by the wind. Similarly, any kind of an emotion is not going to attach to the Atma. And when I say I am this person, my name is so and so, I have this thing and that thing, then actually the I is the Atma. But I am identifying myself with the body and with the mind. And that is the reason why I end up feeling insulted by actions of other people. So probably from this whole story of Shikhandi, we can learn that whenever we feel hurt and we try to take some action to overcome that hurt, when we try to hurt others in return for them having hurt us, or when we feel that we are being insulted and we want to take revenge on them, then ultimately whatever comes out of that feeling is going to be negative only. There is never any good that will come out of such kind of feelings. We must understand the difference between this, what we are talking about now, and fighting against wrongdoing. Whenever there is adharma and something wrong which is going on, we must feel insulted, we must fight against the wrongdoers, and that adharma must be put down. That is different. But for my personal glory, when I feel insulted or hurt and I want to do something in retaliation, then that will not lead to the path of to a positive outcome. There will be destruction only at the end of this. Another thing we can see from this shloka is, as I said, that Sanjaya is calling Dhritarashtra as Prithvipate, ruler of the earth, right? So Dhritarashtra had the power, and if he had the power, he should have also developed the viveka, the discrimination power, to take responsibility for what is going on and to act as per dharma. So everybody knows this famous dialogue, it is attributed to that Spider-Man's, in that movie Spider-Man, they talk about that boy's uncle is there, and he says that with great power comes great responsibility, right? So that is very famous as a, one of the inspiring dialogues. Now we must remember that concept. whether we are taking it from the Bhagavad Gita or we are taking it from that movie, whatever it is, whenever somebody has a lot of power, then the person who is predominant in Rajatamatmaka Guna, that person will use that power to get something for himself personally. They will use it to fulfill their vested interests, or they will just use that power to enjoy, or they will just want to, assert themselves and exert that power over other people and rule over others. But actually, as per dharma, when you have great power, you also have the responsibility much greater than the other people who don't have power. So we must use that power in a responsible manner. We must use whatever power is in our capacity to act as per dharma and to try and make others also act as per dharma. This failure to act in a responsible manner by Dhritarashtra, that is what was responsible for the entire saga of the Kurukshetra Yuddha. So, having power, we must always try and use that power responsibly and understand that we have been given that power by God. We must utilize it appropriately to follow the rules of Dharma. And here we see in this episode of Shikhandi, we noticed how using Shikhandi, Krishna got the objective fulfilled. So, why did Krishna do that? Arjuna and the Pandavas were his devotees. They were his friends, not only because they were his cousins. There was another cousin called Shishupala, whom he himself killed, right? But because Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas had put their supreme faith in Krishna, and he knew that for them, he is the God, he is the ultimate one. So he took care of them because they were on the side of Dharma, because they were his bhaktas. So always Krishna is partial to his devotees. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has himself said that I don't have enemies, I don't have friends, right? That is in a slightly different context. So that shows that he doesn't play favorites, but he is very clear that anyone who comes to me as a Sharanagata, anybody who takes shelter of my feet, anyone who surrenders to me unconditionally, I will always be partial to those people. I will take care of them no matter what. I will go back even on my own word, even on my promise to particular vow that I have taken. But I will make sure that my devotee is protected. Right? So that is how Krishna always is partial to his devotees. And how can we make sure that Krishna's grace is always on us? We must get counted as one of his devotees. We must make sure that we are in his list of devotees, right? So to do that, what do we need to do? We must do namasmaran. We must be in satsang. We must try and engage our mind as much as possible in thinking about God, in praising his glories, in singing his glories, and in trying to live our life, doing all our actions as an offering to God, doing everything as seva to him. That is the way in which we can make sure that we will become his devotee and he will count us as one of his devotees. So that is how we have to interpret the meanings and the meanings and the deeper ideas of this whole episode of Shikhandi and Bhishma. So this is what we had to cover in today's satsang. Let us offer Kritanyata, and then if anybody has anything to say, we can take that. We have a few minutes left. So let us offer gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and to join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Namaskar. If anybody has anything to share, to comment, or any question to ask, you are most welcome to unmute and speak. Is there anything anybody wants to say? Okay. Thank you, Zarnaji. Thank you, everybody. Fine. In case there is nothing that anyone else wants to add or ask about the topic of today, then we will close here for now. We'll meet again next Tuesday, same time at 6:15. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Namaskar.
Namaste, Aji.
Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste.